at this point, it's my pleasure to introduce our special guest, Amy Adams. Amy is Director of Corporate Accounting at ORS Medco. And today we're going to be talking to Amy about how they are leveraging this Infor Enterprise Performance Management solution to run their entire financial consolidation process, removing all those manual spreadsheet steps that they used to deal with before and cutting their month-end close cycle time in half. So thank you for being with us today, Amy.
Thank you, Brad. I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're super glad that you've joined us today. So maybe just to start out, if you could tell us a little about this new company that was formed called ORS Medco. What does ORS Medco do, and what's your role in the organization?
Sure. ORS Medco was formed after One Equity Partners purchased them from Ascendant on October 17th, 2019. We have operations in the U.S., Canada, and the Middle East. And we operate as a wholesaler of automotive, safety, and industrial supplies sold to distributors. And we have a network of about 35 facilities and about 1,100 employees. And my role at the company is Director of Corporate Accounting. I do a lot of the consolidations along with kind of our financial reporting packages that go to the board and the bank. And since the new company was formed, we needed a consolidation solution to roll up and report our results that was not managed in Excel.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure, being PE backed and, having multiple entities and subsidiaries, forming this new organization, ORS Medco, I'm sure that this new ownership structure created some, different business goals, if you will. So what were you hoping to accomplish as a part of this new organization?
Yeah, sure. So when the acquisition was completed, we were given from the previous owners an S-based solution that wasn't necessarily built out and wasn't meeting our needs as a new company. So it had a lot of risk in it, and we ended up relying on it for P&L for our entities and for a starting point for the balance sheet. But everything else to get us to a consolidated P&L and balance sheet as well as a cash flow was completed in Excel. And a couple of examples where this process introduced a lot of risk was we weren't able to do currency conversions. We had to load foreign entities into U.S. dollar and not in local currency. Therefore, currency conversions were being done in Excel. And then mappings were maintained in Excel, and a different mapping table was needed for each entity. So we had to maintain many mapping files. In addition, topside entries were in Excel, so they weren't auditable. We just had a column in Excel with a debit and credit in it. And then it was an environment that had poor controls around it.
Yeah, and no one I've ever talked to in the finance likes the idea of having manual or poorly controlled processes. And I'm sure with kind of moving from this legacy entity and legacy systems in a very short time frame and a real focus on needing better visibility into the business, it created some challenges of its own. So I know you talked a little bit about some of the challenges. Can you maybe dive a little bit more into what was preventing you from ultimately accomplishing what you wanted to accomplish? What was really holding you back at the end of the day?
Yeah, it was mainly the S-PACE process that was provided as a temporary solution wasn't flexible in meeting our needs. So we were taking 15 days to provide our management with a P&L, a balance sheet, and a cash flow. And so by not getting it into their hands faster, management wasn't able to make decisions as fast as they would like, as well as there was risk of errors in data integrity. In addition, we had to report our business units as a consolidated piece because we could only do eliminations at the consolidated level. So to get a P&L by our business units was wasn't possible.
Well, and I also remember you mentioning something about, by the time you got all the consolidations done, 20 days into the month, that left you a very short window to actually do analysis and provide kind of value add around the process.
Yep, correct. We were really just plugging away on getting an end result, not necessarily understanding if we had missed any entries or what were the drivers of any differences that we saw.
Yeah, that can be not a fun place to be. So what we've got up on the screen here is an example of what your legacy process looked like before. Amy, can you maybe help us understand what the challenges were in this? I know you mentioned S-Base, but it sounds like even though you had S-Base, there was kind of a defaulting back to spreadsheets, and what pain that was causing you and the leadership team.
Sure. The trial balances that were submitted from the businesses had to be manually manipulated to put through an Excel mapping tool to get it into a common chart of accounts. And this process had to be repeated for each entity. So even though we leveraged S-Base, there was still a lot of manual processes in Excel to even get it into S-Base. And then there was a certain load format that had to be done, and it had to be provided to the data warehouse and IT teams, and it ran in an overnight process. So we weren't even able to get our results until the next morning. And then when we had it, we had to tie it out in Excel by entity to make sure that the load worked correctly. And then if any adjustments were needed, we had to do the previous step over and follow the overnight process again. As well as our topside journal entries and reports were all completed in Excel. And after 7 to 8 days, a first pass of the P&L was ready for review, but we were still working on a consolidated balance sheet.
Wow, that doesn't sound like a fun process at all. And if I understand correctly, there was even times where folks would go in, maybe IT or others, into the actual S-Base database and make changes that you guys weren't even aware was happening.
Yeah, exactly. There was just no control around the system, and we didn't have the control around it, so we couldn't prevent those things from happening.
Well, I know you decided to kind of modernize with Infor. You moved from your kind of legacy ERP system to a new Infor Cloud Suite system around distribution, and you kind of used that same momentum to take the opportunity to modernize your data and analytics platform so that you could automatically centralize those data assets so that workflows such as financial consolidation could be done much faster and much more accurately. And I know that was a pretty significant transformation. So now if we look at your financial consolidation process today after going through this consolidation on Infor, what parts of the process are now fully automated, and what parts of the process are you still using Excel for, and why?
Yeah, so the mapping is now maintained in the system, so it's not done in Excel. We can get the data in there quicker. We can load the data multiple times a day and process it multiple times a day. DPM is performing our currency conversions, our translation, and our eliminations, as well as our topside journal entries. So our reports are generated out of DPM as well, and if they aren't created out of the App Studio, we leverage the Excel add-in, so it's directly linked to DPM. And now with this process, after 5 to 6 days, we're ready to review the first pass of the P&L as well as the balance sheet.
Well, I would say that's quite a change, going to a very manual process to what now you refer to as kind of a push-button balance sheet and income statement that's available on demand. And I know one of the things Jason kind of showed earlier that I think you're taking advantage of is this kind of new board package that you're able to send out. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we created a board package using the Excel add-in that has a balance or a P&L by our business units, a balance sheet, a cash flow, and some key metrics that they were interested in, as well as some debt covenant information, which is all leveraged out of pulling it out of DPM.
Got it. And now with this kind of extra time that you're not spending on aggregating and checking data, are you able to do a little bit more analysis around the variance and provide a little more value?
Yeah, we, as part of that board package, we provide commentary on the variances between actuals and budget, as well as actuals versus prior year. So we're able to provide some color around what happened in the month and year to date that we weren't previously providing.
Well, that's all. We can, save time in a process, but it's even better when we can take that time and reapply those resources to higher value add activities in the organization, because that really benefits everybody across the board. So Amy, I know there was a lot of alternative solutions out there in the market, right? There's a lot of different ways you can tackle the enterprise performance management process. Can you maybe tell us why you chose to partner with Birst and with Infor?
Yeah, sure. The biggest reason we chose Infor was some of our larger entities already use an Infor product for their ERP. So the fact that we could eventually leverage the data lake and have our data fed without manually loading the data was one of the biggest drivers. In addition, it provides a single version of truth across all our entities by centralizing data and reports. And it has provided us with a mapping solution done inside the tool as opposed to in Excel, eliminations at multiple points, the business unit level and consolidated, as well as currency conversion, journal entries, and we now have auditable records.
Well, that's great. And I know, you looked at other solutions in the market, tools like Hyperion or BPC. What kind of ruled those out for you in this process?
Yeah, the biggest thing was the timing of when we needed to turn this around, as well as our entities already leveraging an Infor product. So the fact that we could eventually build out where we wouldn't need to manually load a handful of our trial balances was one of the biggest reasons.
That's awesome. And we have just really enjoyed the partnership with ORS Medco. And I'm glad you actually brought up the timing, because not only did you choose to partner with Infor, but you also chose to partner with CFO Solutions, one of our premier partners for actually implementing solutions EPM. And I understand they were able to get you implemented in your solution in just 3 months because you had to meet some pretty strict timelines.
Yes, that's correct.
So that's a phenomenal business benefit in and of itself, but can you tell us about maybe some of the other business benefits to ORS Medco and even for you personally?
Yeah, it's given us more support to the senior management team. It lets them see their results quicker and make better decisions. We're able to spend time on the variance analysis instead of just pulling the data together. And we've improved our efficiencies with consolidation being completed in 5 to 7 days as opposed to 15 days, as well as it's reduced risk by automating processing and control, and it's timely and accurate.
That's awesome. And then there's always the other piece, which is trust, which it's so hard to put a price tag on what it's meant for trust in the data across the organization.
Exactly, correct. People can rely on what we're giving them now as opposed to having additional questions on, is this really correct?
That's awesome. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing the steps that you and ORS Medco went through to accelerate the adoption of a modern financial consolidation solution and become a much more data-driven organization. We really do appreciate your time and being with us on the call today. Thank you.